Welcome to the Stanley Street Social Podcast presented by MAP. My name's Alex Clements. I'm here with Campbell Flakemore and our guest today, Max Gawn. Welcome, gents.
Alex Campbell.
Alex.
We're live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, as we've been for the last feels like forever, Campbell, since we started at the tour. We've just clocked the second Grand Tour of the year. So if you do have any questions, please drop them in the comments box. They'll shoot through to us and we can touch on them later. But last night we saw the final TT of the Giro, Jai Hindley, Tao Geoghegan heading into the stage on equal time. A wild scenario, but Tao was awfully impressive to take the Giro, Campbell.
It was a wild scenario, equal onto the last day. We had Jai in the pink jersey. What an honour to wear the pink jersey through Milano, rolling into the Duomo Plaza. But for him, unluckily, Tao was just super. He was just monstering this massive gear on the flat parkour, and Jai came in 39 seconds back, so it was never really in it. But hats off to Tao and hats off to Ineos for winning the stage as well with Ganna, and also chalking up their 7th stage win of the Giro and adding the pink jersey. Must be one of the most dominant performances from a team in recent history in a Grand Tour.
There was a big difference in the cadence the two boys were pushing out. Why do you reckon that's the case?
You see even in the mountains, Tao rolling this big gears where Jai is always spinning. And in a TT, it seems like there's this, over a certain amount, and you almost become inefficient. As we're in the climbs, you can sort of have a cadence that, you can have it up over 100, and it's a good thing. But in a TT, anything over sort of 95, and you start to become a little bit inefficient. So I did notice that Jai was really spinning a gear, and Tao was just monstering it. So what was Tao, 13th on the stage as well? Really, really impressive, and what a ride to win a Grand Tour.
He showed himself as quite a wholesome GC rider with that time trial. Real solid in the mountains, but then to pull together that GC with that time trial, awfully impressive. But is
that time trial good enough to get Tao into Ineos's tour team next year?
They've got a big dilemma.
He's got to go against Thomas, Yates, Port, Sivakov, Bernal.
Missed someone else there, I'm sure. Carapaz, who won the Giro last year, he's torching the Vuelta. It's getting pretty thick in there. I don't know, but it was super impressive. Didn't really show any weakness throughout the whole Giro, except for that first TT where he was probably thinking he was just going to be coming in as a supporting role. I think he was like 120th on the stage. So to turn it around from there, it's still bizarre, isn't it? Really, that these two guys were duking it out on the last day.
There's a lot of, I'd say, or you almost say negative press about the fact that maybe it's not that good of a Giro with those two guys, but Vincenzo and Fuglsang still finished the race, and Yates was a long way off when he was racing in those first 4 or 5 days. It did work out that he probably had coronavirus, but and you could probably say the same with Kruijswijk as well. But that's a field that was still getting blown away by a pace that Tao was able to hold on in that first week.
Yeah, and all reports the climbs in this last week have been ridden at warp speed. So I think whether like Kruijswijk and Thomas and Yates were there or not, I think these boys would have still been there in the front. There just would have been more guys there, just not these two standing head and shoulders above the rest. So I'm not buying into that it's a shallow field and it's a weak winner. I disagree completely with that.
I asked the same question I was talking to Lucas Hamilton today on the phone. He said that they went up to Stelvio in record time.
Yeah.
Fastest ever time they've ever been up there. I think this is the new norm. The new norm has
Gee,
arrived.
would Lucas have been in those? Would have been a 3 with Lucas the way he was looking.
The way he was looking, the way that Simon Yates was out of the bike race. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, but it would have been nice to see Lucas there for sure.
It was interesting. He was talking about how tough it was. It's like, all right, you exit a bike race, but to exit a bike race on those circumstances, to see these guys swinging at it while you're just in quarantine in Spain, a pretty tough situation for him. A lot of those guys, and also the guys on Jumbo, like we talked to Harper, first ever Grand Tour, to get 6 days in and then get ripped out of it on a year which is awfully lean on racing. It's a pretty tough scenario to be in.
Mm.
But as you said, I think this is the new crop of guys, and it's exciting heading into next year, whatever next year looks like.
What does this mean for like
do
Vincenzo and Jakob? Are they done? Like, are they realistically done?
That was my next question. Do we finally stop talking about Fulsang doing a good GC? Is this the end of the line?
It appears so.
How much do we look into this being a changing of the guard, or the year of 2020 that's just maybe more accommodating to a younger rider than an old stalwart stuck in their ways?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's a year like no other, and it's throwing up results in that way too. But I don't know. I just don't see Vincenzo and these older boys coming back and going for podiums. Geraint Thomas maybe still, yes, but yeah, like the Valverdes and this crowd probably.
Valverde opened up to not training. He doesn't train.
What's this?
He just rocks up to bike races and uses bike races to get fit. He still thinks he's a rock star and no one can take his spot.
Well, when you got 25 pre-seasons under the legs, you probably can just rock up and do okay.
It shows there's not that competitive for a spot at Movistar for the Tour if he's using that to train for the Volta.
It does speak though to the age bracket. You kind of, you're so eager as a young pro, do anything to get to these bike races, do anything to be at the top. That includes busting yourself on an ergo for 2 months.
Yeah,
which is awfully tricky to do. Whereas when you've won as much as some of these older guys, is it possible to go to that, get training to that point that you could get at racing? It just seems like it's not quite there. So we could see a little bit of a re-emergence.
And also just quickly on the two guys that we saw going for the win last night, like they're not super young, like 25 and 24. It's not like we're talking about 21 and 20-year-olds. Like these guys have had a few Grand Tours under their belt. Especially Teo, it seems like he's been pro forever, but he's only 25, which is still young, but it's not like these, really, really young guys like Pogacar and Bernal winning the Tour at 21. These boys got a few more miles under the legs, so it's not like they've just popped out of nowhere.
I was thinking that when I watched them complete the time trial, and I'm like, maybe Teo doesn't seem that young to me, because I remember I had to go back and look when I fell in love with him, but it was the 2018 Tour of California, which is 2 years ago, and he did the Tour of California before that as well in 2017. So he's been riding in some pretty good races for a while. I went back and had a look at that 2018 Tour of California and why I fell in love with him. Him and Bernal dominated for Team Sky, and he was the lead domestique, which they both finished in the top 5 on GC. The names that are around there in that Tour of California include Danny Martinez and McNulty, that finished in the top 6, 2 guys that have improved. And then the next year was won by Pogacar, who has also gone out and lit the world on fire. The Tour of California is where to find people. That 7 days must be just a real telling point in someone's career.
It's interesting you bring up McNulty there, because Americans traditionally do well in America and then struggle to replicate that in Europe. But McNulty's another one who popped out of this Giro with his reputation enhanced, I think, definitely.
For Teo now too, well, first of all, Teo's emerged out of a team that traditionally isn't great at nurturing riders. I feel like he's the most through and through Team Sky, Team Ineos guy. But in the past, it hasn't really quite worked for some of these younger guys that have gone there off the bat.
Yeah, is he almost the first, like the first homegrown? Like, I know Geraint Thomas, he was probably like late 20s when he went to Sky, or maybe he was like 25 or 26, but then had the track, so it's a little bit different. But you're right, they haven't been great at nurturing. They normally just go and pick up someone that's ready to go. But you hear these tales of Teo winning the prize when Team Sky was like first introduced. There was like a prize to go and ride with the riders, and yeah, proper British lad. And he's also a proper fan of the sport as well. You can tell that he's got respect for the sport. Him and Brad Wiggins obviously get on like a house on fire. So
I didn't realise he was the Matty Eagles of cycling. Matty Eagles won. What did he win that TV show? Is he go train?
Yeah,
go
the
play
recruit, was it?
Is Teo the recruit? I didn't know.
The prize was like, he was like really young. He must have been like 15 or something, and go and like ride with the team. Something along those lines. It wasn't like the recruit. let's get that. He's not the Matty Eagles of the world tour.
Was there, Max, on your career, is there a time where you're like, oh, geez, that was when I really grew or started to perform better or started to really click?
Mine's probably similar to Teo's story, where it sort of it lucked out for me to be given a go. They'd been going with Mark Jamar for a while, and he got injured, and I got a chance to go ruck all out, one out against the Geelong team, and I was able to do it and do it the way I thought I could. And it's similar to what Teo was probably behind a few people and got given a chance in this tour. So, yeah, there's a lot of stories that just comes to people being given a chance, and the confidence you get from that. Hopefully you perform well with that chance. There's stories of not going that well, but that seems to be the strong correlation with sporting stars.
Mm. Where does he go from here? As Tom McFarlane points out too, there's Richie is heading to Ineos as well next year, just to throw another spanner in the works. There is an awful amount of talent there. There's only 3 Grand Tours a year. One that everyone wants to race. Will Teo ever leave that squad?
I'm sure there'll be some temptation. I'm sure there'll be some offers rolling in. But, I mean, people, when they move teams, they can tend to struggle, can't they? There's not the same people around them, different coaches, different environment, and they just kind of don't function like they do where they made their name. So it's a risky one, isn't it, to go and chase the coin, chase the opportunity, but you might not have as fruitful a time as if you were staying at Ineos. So I don't know. I think he, like you said, he's that Ineos through and through sort of guy, and it'd be good to see him stay there and just keep biding his time. But if you win a Giro, you're kind of going to get confidence and think you can do it yourself, which you can.
Nope. No one else is getting choppers off the mountain.
He get chopped off the mountain, did he?
Yeah, it was a bit much.
Yeah, he got chopped off the mountain.
That's probably why the time trial went the way it did.
I don't know. What do you think, Alex? Do you think, like, where do you see him going? Career trajectory.
I think if it was anyone else, you would look to move. But I think for him, it seems like this team, this culture, this everything that's around him, like he lives and breathes Team Ineos. I don't think the move's the right way to go. And it's not like they're short on cash. I'm sure dollar-wise he's doing all right.
Yeah.
So this could be the Tour team.
And also,
let's
go on,
let's
Max,
say
sorry.
Thomas. Let's say Geraint Thomas's lead. He could have at the Tour. He could have these 7 guys as his backup: Adam Yates, Egan Bernal, Richard Carapaz, Teo Gegenhardt, Danny Martinez, Sivakov, and Richie Port, who are all rumoured and linked to be at Ineos next year. And that's minus the 2 TT bosses that we saw at the Giro of Garner and Dennis, and Kwiatkowski, who hasn't missed a Tour for a good couple of years. So that's an almighty squeeze.
And throw the El Capitan Luke Rowe in there too, who is the heart and soul of the group, road captain. They're looking good for next year, aren't they? I mean, it's a good stable, if you will.
They got 2 GC riders per Grand Tour there.
Well, they've got 4 winners of Grand Tours on their books currently. So, wow.
And gaining Yates, Port, and Martinez.
So same question that we've asked about Teo. What's next for Jai? Is he now their man for GC going forward? Roman Bardet's headed to Sunweb, but I mean, Bardet feels like he's had plenty of chances only compared to a French squad. But Jai second in the Giro, is he the first Australian to podium at the Giro? Maybe Cadell was podium there before, but
Cadell was first, but yeah.
Yeah. What's next for Jai?
I think so. Been dominant in their stage performances. Hershey leading the way. But with Wilco gone, it'll be interesting to see how Bardet fits, what their objectives are with him. But you think he's just put himself into hot seat for this to be, for Jai to be curated into the next big thing for Team Sunweb. Or he follows in the footsteps of a lot of other super talent that have come through Team Sunweb, and you get picked off by another squad.
Well, they're completely opposite to Ineos, aren't they? At developing their young riders.
Yeah.
There's the kid that I saw at the Volta podium the other night. He's 20 years old. Thyman Arisman, who apparently finished second to Pogacar at a Tour last year, and he's 20 and riding in the Volta. So it's just Sunweb just keep creating these young talents. I'm not sure if they ever want to be a Grand Tour GC team, though, as well. I think that's up in the air.
Yeah, just looking at that guy's Palmares, second at L'Avenir in 2018, always the big guide, and then third at the Paris-Roubaix, under 23s as well. So not a bad range of results to have as a 23. But yeah, you're right. They don't normally like to go down the hard and fast GC path, and a lot of development and a lot of chasing stages, etc. So, I mean, with a rider like Jai, maybe they'll change.
Yeah. There's this new thing to do where your GC's the backup plan, and you go for 7 stage wins like Ineos have. I reckon that could be the new flavour of the month. Just go for stage wins, and if your guy that you're told to ride GC is still there by the 3rd week, all right, let's ride GC.
Not sure
Especially
if you saw
outside
an
the Tour.
interview with Dave Brailsford and Bernie Eisel at the end of the Giro. Have you seen how happy Dave B was? He was so jovial. I've never seen him just so relaxed. He's like, yeah, this is the new Team Ineos. This is what we're going to do now. We're just going to go on offense. We're going to chase stages and go and win the GC too.
Well, the way they blew it open in those last 2 days for Teo, they only really had Rowan on the 2 climbs. You need obviously a domestique as good as Rowan. And I think Castroviejo and Garner did a turn just before the climbs, and that's really all they had in terms of domestiques for their leader.
Yeah. Well, Garner definitely did a good pull, but then the TV showed Castroviejo doing about 30 meters and swinging. maybe there was more to it, but he didn't get much of TV time.
To quote Chris Hamilton in our chat yesterday, I was sprinting on Rowan's wheel when he rolled through over the top of Castroviejo. He was
so strong, wasn't he, Rowan, on those 2 days? Incredible.
Geez, Victor Campanance must have been in some good form to be able to beat Rowan in the time trial.
Yeah, and Campanarts, he was pretty much did that whole stage that was shortened at full gas too, sniffing out the breakaway, and wasn't quite good enough, but was probably the strongest guy in there. But yeah, I'm guessing Rowan was a little bit cooked from the 2 big days that he pulled out in the mountains.
I imagine Dave B was awfully happy just because his plan that was so highly criticised of no Froome, no Geran at the Tour. The Tour wasn't a huge success. And then all of a sudden he's plucked out a Giro winner and most of the stage wins. Ganna's just come to the table.
And just took a minute off Roglic at the Vuelta.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now Carapaz in the lead at the Vuelta.
You know what else I like about Teo for Team Ineos is that he's British. I think it's important that the team maintains some kind of its heritage, that you keep something in there. You got Geraint, you got Teo. Yes, you've got a stack full of Colombian climbers as well to support him. But I like Teo for Dave B and his vision at just somewhere around the helm.
Cycling's okay at the moment in Britain. There's some genuine talent. It's the Giro especially. Dowsett won a stage, but James Knox, apart from Rowan, was probably domestique of the Tour of the Giro.
And you got Hugh Carthy shredding it up at the Vuelta too.
Genuinely shredding it up.
Yeah. Just on that, Alex. We always talk about how is cycling going to become like a football code in terms of having like actual supporters and like not relying on sponsorship. I think having like riders that people can like identify with, a British rider like Teo on a British squad, I think that's probably part of the puzzle to achieving that.
I think that's where I became the closest to following a squad was Green Edge. So many Aussie guys. You want the Aussie guys to win. You throw in a couple other personalities, which Dan Jones did such a good point of getting to know them, displaying who they are, so that it felt like an actual squad. And because of that Australian connection, you actually follow the team. It was like, I want this team to win.
And they're missing that at the moment, Orica. I mean, lots of Aussies, but in terms of a leader, Michael Matthews might help in the future. But imagine if they got Jai. Lucas is potentially going to be that guy. But imagine if they got Jai if Jai was riding. I mean, the Giro was in the paper 3 times. The Herald Sun 3 times throughout this whole Giro, and we had a guy top 3 in the Giro the whole way through.
Yeah.
If he was riding for an Australian team, does that help? I don't know.
I mean, if it's the Tour de France, it's completely different. We were talking a little bit about this yesterday. That it probably didn't help, but it's grand final week, etc. That's taking up 80% of the Herald Sun. But I heard the Eurosport commentator say that even the West Australian was the same. He's a West Australian boy, pink jersey, got very little coverage. So I think it just shows where cycling's at, besides the Tour de France in the general punter's viewpoint.
Ben O'Connor was lucky to get a sideline little article on page 56 after winning the stage. The other big thing to come out of the Giro was João Almeida, and he didn't finish it off in poor fashion either. Super TT, clipped Bilbao to put himself into 4th on the GC.
Can you get the vision of Bilbao winning the national champs, please? Well, I don't think it was him.
Yeah,
I asked the same question, Max.
Just quickly, another result that was a little bit eye-raising was Pozzovivo actually put in a really good TT last night. He was only a minute 10 down and finished 19th on the stage. Doesn't make any sense. Went missing in the mountains in the last week and then comes and does good TT when he least needs to do it. It was bizarre.
Maybe it's the last ride for NTT. Just wanted to spice it up.
Possibly the last ride ever. Maybe that's what he was thinking. What is he, 37, 38?
But Max, your theory, which I don't mind, especially outside the Tour, I don't mind it for the Giro and the Vuelta, that you hunt stage wins and you just have your GC man just floating, see what happens. If things go right, yep, we're all in. João Almeida fits that bill perfectly in a stage hunting squad. You just sit him at 8th wheel and he just does what he needs to do when he needs to do it. I like him a lot.
His worst performance was when he was with his team. He sort of cracked when he had Quick Step riding at the front. And I mean, Teo had spent the first 2 weeks without a domestique at all, almost. It just seems like, especially for the Giro, it seemed like he didn't really need all those domestiques. And in the hunt stage wins. I'm not sure. Did Quick Step, how many they win?
They don't think they won a stage.
Did Almeida won one, didn't he? I thought. Maybe I'm wrong there. I thought he won one early on.
Came second on stage 13, third on stage 5, and sixth on stage 2. Second in the TT.
Yep.
He was super strong against the clock.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Obviously, with Teo and Jai, everyone's been talking about those guys a lot. I know we talked about this guy a lot as well because he was in the lead for 2 weeks. But this is like a really impressive GC operator here, like someone that can TT pretty much as good as anyone. Okay, he's not the best climber yet, but you can tell that he's going to dig in. And I don't know. I think you're right, Alex. Throw him in a Quick Step, do your own thing, just float around, and then if it comes to the crunch, we'll help you late in the piece. They've got a decision to make next year as well because they're going to have Remco coming back, Julian Alaphilippe, another squad that is going to be really hard to find a spot there for the Tour.
I'm sure you guys brushed on this over the last few days. Now looking at it, and Jai has come second by 40 seconds. I'm not sure how far Kelderman was off. Was he about a minute 30 down in the end?
Yeah, about that.
Yep, 129.
If Jai rides for Kelderman, can they salvage the pink jersey for Wilco?
I don't think so. I was thinking about it. I was thinking,
because if Wilco rides that time trial with a pink on his back, he goes even better than what he did, and I think he finished 12th or 10th. He beat Teo, didn't he?
Yeah, he was just ahead of Teo. I was thinking that, like, if they had their time again, would have they just completely stayed with Wilco? But I don't think Teo would have been able. Jai would have been able to provide that much assistance to take. I'm not sure what he was going into the TT, but in short, I don't think so. I don't think it would have made too much of a difference. I'm sure they'd like to know the answer to it, but I don't think
it seemed like both times Wilco cracked. He then found something later on in the stage. So it seems like he just cracked at that initial pace, which almost suits having someone being able to ride you back to the group.
Because then it would have been 2v2, wouldn't it? It would have been Teo and Rowan versus Jai and Wilco just in a 2v2.
I think they lose time to them, but do they lose? Teo was down 2 minutes, I think, going into those last two mountain stages.
Yeah.
Do they lose that much?
Yeah. I mean, those are the decisions that we were talking about they're going to have to make on the road, and I guess they've got to live with them. But, yeah, I don't think they'll lose too much sleep over it.
And Rowan counts as 1.5 guys. Like, he was... I still can't believe how good he was. He's just become this ultimate rider. Is there anything else you guys picked up from the actual TT itself that you want to touch on?
Miles Scottson had a good ride, coming in for 5th. I thought that was worth noting, especially after helping Arnaud for 3 weeks. He had a little dig there, and I think 5th was quite a good result. And I know it's 40 seconds down, but I mean, there's just this new kind of reference point that it's not Ghana, it's whoever comes second.
Yeah.
He's just torching him. That was like 17 minutes, and he's putting 30 seconds into Campanart's the world hour record holder. It's incredible.
And he didn't have an easy run into it. He's won every time trial. He's worked for Tao every other day. He's been up the road winning his own stages while he's at it. So,
He won 4 stages this Giro.
it's outrageous. It's outrageous.
It is.
But then it also puts that on Almeida. Like you say, talking about his good time trials, he's better than the norm. If you put Teo or Wilco at that kind of minute mark as the norm for the GC guys, the good time trialers that can climb, he's put 20 seconds into them over 17K.
Yeah. He's at that Tommy D and Geraint Thomas sort of GC level TTer, if you will.
There's a question we might touch on. Go on, Max.
Yeah. Can we mention, we won't go team by team, but can we just mention how disappointing Bora was? I mean, yes, they've got someone inside the top 10 with Patrick Conrad, and they had Rafa in the top 5 until he absolutely capitulated in the last 3 stages. But then those two, plus their domestique, wouldn't ride for Peter Sagan, which was hurting Sagan in chasing breaks. And it ended up showing that you can't have both go for pink and GC at the same time. And I don't think Sagan won one stage, which was an unbelievable ride.
I think it comes down to an off Peter Sagan, not an off Peter Sagan, but just not the Peter Sagan. In the sense that
he was on late. He was on late.
No, let me finish. So heading before that stage, Peter Sagan won. They've been riding for him for 27 stages for nothing, for no dice, and riding like wildly from like 180K to go. Then he put on the performance of the tour. I don't know if there was a better stage win than that.
Ghana's road stage was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. It was very impressive. I think, maybe for Bora with the sort of group that they went there with was a little bit disappointing, even though they won a stage. But I think there's probably some teams that we can go after a little bit harder. Probably looking at AG2R and Cofidis.
Well, AG2R at the Giro.
Exactly. And probably Lotto Soudal and Movistar can also be thrown into the category of very poor Giro. Even the teams that we normally dip in on, CCC got a stage win, NTT got a stage win. The pro Conti Italian teams probably had a very quiet Giro for them. Normally they get a stage win somewhere along the line, but they didn't. They were nowhere near anything, were they, these guys? And also Israel, they won a stage with Alex Dowsett too. So, some poor performances from Lotto, Cofidis, and AG2R, I think. Thoughts, queries, concerns?
The only one about Lotto is, I think, Matthew Holmes put himself on the map, even though he was on the map as the only guy to beat Richie. But I think apart from that squad, there was not a whole lot going on. And as you said, when CCC, Israel, and NTT are winning stages, they're the normal targets. They're the ones that were normally on their back. They've all ticked the box. They've all had a good Grand Tour.
They have.
Even Astana, I know they lost 2 important GC guys early, but
they finished with a top 10 though. That gets them out of the way of us, and probably put Bahrain in the same boat too with Bilbao, who had a pretty solid performance throughout.
In the Ben O'Connor missed as well.
And with Tratnik as well. Good point.
I mean, FDJ probably did what they needed to do. How many stage wins they get? 4?
4, yeah.
4, and the jersey.
I think you're a bit harsh on.
An interesting one.
Harsh on Cofidis for mine. Viviani completed the whole tour without making an appearance on the TV. It was phenomenal. He completed Grand Tour this year and not made it to the TV. Actually, no, that's not fair. He crashed into the motorbike.
Yeah, and we also saw him do one of these ones in the team car as well. So
it's not a bad squad on paper, but they just got absolutely nothing to talk about from the Giro.
it's quiet, very quiet.
My man Guy Martin is throwing everything at La Volta.
Yeah, he is. He's getting stuck into it. Are we going to move on to that next, Alex?
I think it's probably time.
Yeah.
We might just touch on a couple of these questions, maybe.
Okay.
Do we just touch on Adam Hansen? That's retirement, isn't it?
That's the end of the line.
Wait.
He just completed his last, and he's done the most Grand Tours out of almost anyone, hasn't he?
Yeah, he had some crazy record of the most consecutive Grand Tours in a row. I think he's missed a tour the last couple of years, maybe, but I don't know how many he's completed, but it'd be a few dozen, you'd think.
Before we wrap up on the Giro, just one question here from Dave McFarlane. Can Rowan chase GC in the future or stick to super domestic billing? The hot question that was thrown around at Ganner a lot too after his climbing performance. I think it's the latter. It's the super domestic bill for me.
Yeah. I think he's kind of he's tried to do that before at his time at BMC. I think they were trying to create him into a GC rider. He had a couple of opportunities to do that, and it just wasn't for him. So I think for him trying to win TTs, he might get the chance at some 1 week races maybe, but I think Grand Tour was that's not for him.
Well, he's performed well at the Tour of California as a GC rider, which is a 1 weeker, maybe a Paris, something like that.
Paris-Nice or Romandy or something like this. He won Down Under as well. So those 1 weekers are good, but I mean he's 30 years of age now, and I know that some riders like Geraint Thomas at 30 become a GC rider, but I just feel that maybe not, especially at Ineos when the stable is so deep.
And he was not cited for 2 weeks. He came well in the middle time trial.
It was after that really that he got confidence and just became probably the third strongest guy in the race.
And will from Luca on YouTube, will Froome ever win another Grand Tour?
I think he'll be back in the GC group going over mountains when he's at Israel. Another full year of rehabilitation and training going forward. I'm not sure where they're going to send him. I think they have to send him to the Tour for their funding. But, he'll be with the group. I'm not sure if he can win, though.
I agree. I don't think he's going to win another Grand Tour. Alex, your opinion?
Especially with this new crop of youthful riders coming through, and just such a long time out now. It's been a long time since we saw Froome going at it.
Is he going to move on? Is there a stage win around the corner?
I think that'd be a nice piece of confidence for the viewers if he could string together a stage performance. But I don't know if he's been going full noise, but he's been a long way off the mark. Onto the Welter, where Froome is attending. If you woke up this morning and didn't watch the stage or didn't read any news and helped yourself to looking at the stage results, you would have no idea how to piece that together.
Well, to be fair, if you go back and watch it, you have no idea either. The moment I thought Roglic could away, and then I worked out he was a minute behind.
Yeah, I woke up this morning. The first thing I did was put the last 5 riders of the Giro TT on. Then after that, opened up Pro Cycling Stats, looked at the Vuelta results, and sent Alex a message. And I just said, "What the fuck happened in the Vuelta last night?" Because if you look at the results, it's chaos. And exactly like you said, watching it, you're less the wiser. What happened? What happened last night?
Well, the first 7 to cross the line are part of the break. And then Hugh Carthy leads the GC lads over. I think that's what I can say.
Yeah, massive breakaway up the road. Huge group containing both the Izagirre bros.
Ooh,
which
yeah.
paid off in the ladder. Gorka and Eon doing tag team going up the road, which paid off in spades at the end of the day. In a filthy stage. There wasn't much footage, but the footage you got of that last climb,
Yeah,
it was
you know
horrendous
it's
weather.
you know it's filthy when Roglic is rocking full leg warmers from start to finish. Filthy weather. Our man Rob Power, right in the thick of it. Fourth for him, which was good. When we talked about this the other day, his legs are clearly good. Sniffed out the right move. But yeah, just got worked over by the Izagirre bros who sent Gorka up the road early, gave Eon the perfect opportunity to sit in the wheels and then dump everyone with a couple of K to go. So it was the perfect use of teammates. And then, yeah, Michael Woods and Rui Costa were there too. So Michael Valgren, who's had a pretty poor campaign. So the Vuelta is the race where everyone can come forward and try and jag a result. So, yeah, I think we're going to see a little bit more of Rob.
It's good signs because, like, he came fourth on the stage, Rob Power, but at the end of the day, that's a hot breakaway.
Yeah.
The one. That's not 3 random Spanish riders. That is genuine guys. Izagirre, Woods, Rui Costa, he's back, Michael Valgren, and Gil Martin.
Yeah,
good
Max's
sign
boy
for Rob
Guillaume.
Power.
There's a lot to unpack in the next part of this race, the GC battle. I mean, it leads with most likely Primoz and Carapaz and Hugh Carthy and these guys, but I just want to get your attention. We're about to see Movistar blow up again because Mass has finished behind Marc Soler and Alejandro Valverde, or on a similar time to Alejandro, but Marc Soler has beaten him. And they don't know who their GC rider is again potentially here, which I can't wait for. Hopefully they make a Netflix on
it. This is part 2.
Yeah.
This is part 2 in the making.
Yeah. Soler, it just looked like he was off doing his own thing at all costs last night.
Has he not been for his entire stint at Movistar? Probably ripped the radio out halfway up the hill when they're telling him to go back for Mass. Sorry, boys.
Mass cracked big time, didn't he? What happened there? Like, it was so hard to tell what was going on. It was pissing rain. Everyone was in black rain jackets. There was no context.
Half the time we'll just cut into vision of the mountain, and then we just chop back into Roglic somewhere up the climb, onto Mass, onto the breakaway, onto somewhat of the remnants of the breakaway. But in the end, it was Hugh Carthy that rose to the top, just mangling his way up that climb in the filthy, filthy weather in a really impressive performance. He's announced himself on the race.
This podium at the end of the Volta is still completely wide open. The 4 that finished with Hugh Carthy, or just behind him, in Carapaz, David Gaudu, who was one of my tips earlier on, and Marc Soler. Like, apart from Soler winning that stage, Gaudu hadn't been looking in form at all, and all of a sudden finishes with Hugh Carthy and Carapaz up the hill. That's crazy. I wish they went up the Formula though.
Yeah, that would have been nice, and the Abisk in the filthy weather. But I think the filthy weather does have something to do with these kind of bizarre results, because everyone reacts differently to conditions like that, and it's all about who can deal with them best. But I thought Primoz would have been okay in those conditions, but there's all these whispers of bad timing of mechanical, something to do with his rain jacket. I don't know the ins and outs of that, whether it was like getting caught in the bike or didn't get it on or whatever. But something clearly happened because Primoz had a bad day. But at the same time, it wasn't like a really bad day. If that's his bad day for the tour, then I think he'll take it.
Yeah.
So Movistar have all 3 in that top 10, by the way.
Yeah.
And our Jumbo Cup has capitulated with Cook and Bennett not even in the top 10 anymore.
it wouldn't be a Grand Tour without Movistar taking out the team's class.
Yeah.
Was Sergio Henao in the break, or did he come up with Carthy?
He was in the break.
Okay.
They had 2 EF in Woods and Sergio.
No, Henau's with UAE.
Oh, is he? My bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was with who's the UAE fellow that finished in the top 3?
Rui Costa.
Rui.
They rode together.
Okay. Yeah. That clears things up a little bit on the results front.
And Van Baal was
And
also.
Van Baal I knew Van Baal was in the break too.
He didn't. He didn't beat Primoz up there.
This is the wildest top 30 you'll ever see. There's so much going on.
A point here from the YouTube, which is pretty handy as well, Carthy, adding to the Brits, which we touched on, is that they've also got Tom Pidcock, the supposed next hottest thing on the block, coming from the cyclocross world. So, as he says here, it'll be a handy little world squad they're going to assemble.
Yeah.
Anything else from a wild day at the Welter?
Well, I think we should probably just analyse the GC after the dust has settled on that wild stage. Carapaz now in the jersey. Hugh Carthy is now second. Dan Martin in third. Primoz slips down to fourth at 30 seconds. And then there's another 37 seconds back to Mars in fifth. So exactly what Max said a couple of minutes ago, this podium is completely up for grabs. I think before yesterday, everyone would have thought Roglic red start to finish, but the Vuelta's never like that.
Minus a couple of names that are probably just in there because of the way they've been set out so far. There's still 15 riders that are within 4.5 minutes and quite capable of holding on for a podium. Seb Kuss lost 17 spots. That hurt him going back and helping out Roglic, but I suppose that's his role.
Mm-hmm.
And my boy Vlasov still, he's probably going to struggle to finish second, as I predicted.
But you never know. I mean, Teo was, 4 odd minutes down with 2 weeks to go. So
yeah, maybe Vlasov thinks Izagirre is the GC rider at the moment, and hopefully it switches over.
Yeah,
he's also more of a chance than my punt Thibaut or Tommy D for second and third. So
at least Tommy D's still in the race. Where is he sitting, GC Tommy D? 33 minutes. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Esteban climbing well.
Esteban, Rupert Guinness said it. We cut him down. He said he put Esteban third. Esteban is sitting pretty well. 2 minutes and 2 seconds off the pace.
I'm keen to hear what Max says about this because he came in swinging.
The noise I hear from the Mitchelton boys in a few audio clips that they give post the stages, they keep saying they're riding for both of their leaders in Mikel and Esteban.
Give me a spell.
It's not true. I hope it's just Esteban and Mikel won't ride off on him. I think they've got a dual leadership, and they're both actually quite close to each other on GC, I think.
Yeah, Esteban at 2:02 and Nive in 14th at 3:28. So still there or thereabouts.
It's a dual attack from Mitchelton Scott. Okay.
I'm not looking forward to our first rest day predictions for this podium.
How about it? No cycle. I don't know what to do with myself tonight. I watched that new SAS show. You watch that?
I watched the first couple of epis. It's actually quite good. I'm enjoying it.
Are you going to do a podcast tomorrow? The only thing that's going longer than Dan Andrews' press conferences are your podcasts. Have you brought up 100 days in a row yet? Or?
We helped ourselves to a little bit of a break, and we are yet to confirm whether we will continue on for the Vuelta. What's that?
I think you have to finish the Vuelta.
It's shortened, so we've only got 11 odd days to go. I don't know. I'll talk to Campbell off air, see what his thoughts are. We could be back here tomorrow at 5:30.
Finish it off well.
Awesome.
So we're doing our predictions, are we?
Yep. Let's go. Alex, you can completely reshuffle the deck on your original decision.
Well, I'm going to hold on my winner in Primoz.
Yep.
I still think he's got the goods. Obviously, Thibaut's got a line through himself as he's evicted himself from the race, and Tommy D's off the cart. So, in second place, I think will be Richard, and in third will be, I think, Hugh Carthy.
Yeah.
No wild predictions, but I think the only thing that's going to change is Primoz going to put himself back on the top of the leaderboard. Max?
I had Primoz 1, Vlasov 2, and a mixture of either Gadou or Guy Martin for third.
Correct.
Which has backfired. I'm going to keep that Gadou there for third just for pride. And he is riding a lot better, so I'm going to keep that at third. And I'm going to keep Primoz at first. The new inclusion, I think it has to be Carapaz. I mean, as much as I like to be different, you can't have Carapaz not in your top 3. I will put in a little side note if I can. Movistar will win the team's classification. The sprinters jersey. I think he might take a few more points in a couple of the mountain stages. And Wout Poels will be our surprise packet. He'll be in and around the top 5.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm going to stay with my top 3 from the start. I'm just going to change second and third. So Roglic to win, and then I'm going to throw Carapaz into second, and I'm going to keep Mas there to hold third.
Very good. Thanks, gents.
Just got one more thing to ask, Alex. Max, your tip of Moschgetti for the bunch gallop the other day. What was the reason for that mail?
I finished 6th as well.
You did, yeah. He was thereabouts.
Like I said, I've got that man on the ground and Cohen to court. Mountain to work for me. And he was the sprinter for Trek Segafredo, so I just inquired about him, and he said he'll be within a shot, maybe if Pascal and Sam are off their game.
Mm-hmm.
Moschetti could be the next best sprinter, but he's behind apparently a couple more.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. I didn't mind it. When it came through in the comments, I had a look at the Palmares, and it wasn't a bad punt.
There's the CCC sprinter,
Mareshko. Yeah, he's very good.
And Philipsen, so he's probably 5th there.
Yeah.
So I heard somewhere the other day that Mareshko's probably picked the wrong tour because he's literally the worst climber in the peloton.
Yeah.
And what is there? 2 stages with that are there for sprinters. So I'm not sure what he's doing. CCC, you've got to win. It doesn't matter. They have a win.
It doesn't matter. Yes. Successful season.
Successful year. Confidence is the only one to go on.
They haven't got a victory this season. Is that correct? Oof. Wow.
Guy Martin.
Your man. He'll be good. He'll come good.
Viviani could come for the back end of the tour. Just finish.
Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Campbell.
Thanks, Alex.
We'll brief you as to if we'll be back.
Beautiful.
5:30 tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.